Okay, so you want to buy a nightclub. Your name on the door, a velvet rope, bottles with sparklers, a DJ who owes you a favor. But here's the strange part. In Britain, clubs are becoming gyms and flats faster than anyone opens new ones. The lights come down, the sound system gets sold. The room becomes a lobby, and yet the richest people on the planet keep buying nightclubs anyway. In 2023, one investment firm bought a nightlife company valued at $550 million. By the end of this video, you'll know 4 things. What a club actually costs to open, what the bill looks like every single year, the 2 mistakes that close clubs over and over, and why the alcohol is rarely the point. Start at the bottom. Tier 1 is the takeover. A small licensed bar in a small town, sold with the fixtures still bolted down. $80,000 to $250,000. You inherit the sound system, the sticky floor, and 11 regulars who preferred the last owner. They will tell you so, weekly, for free. Tier 2 is a real city club. 400 to 600 capacity. $1.5 to $3 million, most of it disappearing into things nobody sees. Soundproofing, ventilation, a second fire exit. You will speak to your electrician more often than your mother. Roughly a third of that budget never appears in a single photograph. Tier 3 is the destination room. 1,000 capacity, a proper booth, a name people travel for, $8 to $20 million. Your speakers cost more than your house, and the residents above you will learn your first name. They will use it in writing to the council. Tier 4 is where the number stops making sense. Marquee opened at the Cosmopolitan in December 2010 and cost about $60 million. Omnia opened at Caesar's Palace in March 2015 and cost $107 million. Hakkasan opened at the MGM Grand in April 2013, 80,000 square feet across 5 levels, built for roughly $100 million. Omnia has a chandelier that lowers from the ceiling and rotates over the crowd. That is a load-bearing decision made by structural engineers for a light fixture in a room where people are drinking. Notice who owns Tier 4. Not people, casinos. The bottom of this ladder buys you a room. The top buys somebody else a reason to keep you on the property. None of that includes permission to sell alcohol. New Jersey has capped liquor licenses at 1 per 3,000 residents since 1947. The state does not print more, so they trade. In Hoboken, a consumption license runs $400,000 to $700,000. The most expensive one ever sold in the state went for roughly $1.8 million. Then the list. Certificate of occupancy, fire inspection, health permit, acoustic survey, security guard licensing, grease trap, sprinkler certification, waste contract, point of sale system, camera coverage of every door. Then the music. You need 4 separate blanket licenses to play recorded songs in public: ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and GMR. 4 organizations, 4 invoices, 1 playlist. And now the part nobody believes. New York City made dancing illegal in unlicensed venues from 1926 until October 2017. 91 years. Of roughly 25,000 food and drink businesses, about 100 held the license. The city ran the most famous nightlife scene on earth, with dancing technically banned. Repeal did not fix it either. Zoning still blocks social dancing in most New York venues. Meanwhile, the lease started in month 1. Approvals take 4 to 9 months. You are paying rent on a dark room. Landlords rarely accept enthusiasm as a deposit, so expect a personal guarantee. Now we get to the question that actually matters. How does a nightclub actually make money? Forget clubs for a second. Picture a coffee shop with 12 tables. Anyone can sit anywhere. Coffee is $4. The shop makes a modest living. Now put a rope around 3 of those tables. Same tables, same chairs, same room. To sit at a roped table costs $400. It comes with a bottle you could buy for $22 at a supermarket. A member of staff carries it over holding a sparkler. Now watch what breaks it. Take the rope away and let anyone sit there, and the $400 vanishes instantly. The price was never in the table. Nothing about the coffee changed. Nothing about the furniture changed. You didn't sell coffee, you sold the rope. Scale that up and you have the whole industry. Take that $22 bottle, pour it across the bar, it makes about 16 drinks at $16 each. That is $256. Sold at a table, the same bottle is $550. The vodka isn't the product. The vodka is the receipt. So here's the reframe. A nightclub isn't really a bar, it's a real estate business renting floor space by the hour that happens to have music in it. Run the numbers on the floor itself. A banquette for 8 takes up about 40 square feet. Put a $2,000 minimum on it and you have collected $50 per square foot in one night. Do that 40 Saturdays a year and the table earns $2,000 per square foot annually. In 2024, Cushman & Wakefield put the headline rent on Upper Fifth Avenue at $2,000 per square foot per year. One banquette earns Fifth Avenue rent in a converted warehouse, in the dark. XS at Encore proved how far this goes. In 2014, it grossed between $103 and $105 million. Nightclub and Bar ranked it the top grossing club in America for the 5th time. Hakkasan did $100 to $103 million the same year. Marquee, built for $60 million, did $80 to $85. A good table at XS cost $10,000. There was also a cocktail that cost $10,000. Some customers bought a round of those, for friends. At that scale, a club stops behaving like a bar. It behaves like a toll booth with a light show. The markups are legal. The rent per square foot beats Fifth Avenue. The best rooms print 9 figures. All of that is true, and all of it is verifiable. Then why do nightclub owners keep going broke? The short answer is everything else. The bill arrives whether anyone shows up or not. Security first. Licensed guards run $22 to $35 an hour, and a 600-capacity room needs 10 to 14 of them a night. Then bartenders, barbacks, porters, cocktail servers, a door team, a coat check. Insurance next, and liquor liability is the expensive part. In most states, you can be sued for what a customer does after they leave your building. Then utilities, then glass breakage, then card processing, roughly 3% of everything, then those 4 music licenses. Then rent, 12 months a year, including the 209 nights you are closed. That is the number worth sitting with. Open 3 nights a week, and the room sits dark more often than a church. Here is what that stack does at the very top of the market. Tao Group ran about 80 branded venues worldwide. In fiscal 2022, it reported roughly $485 million in revenue and $37 million in operating income. That is an operating margin of 7.6%. That is the best-run nightlife company on earth. Before the DJ, before the promoter, before the landlord, before you. Some risks do not announce themselves. On February 20th, 2003, pyrotechnics ignited foam soundproofing at the Station nightclub in West Warwick, Rhode Island. 100 people died. Nearly every rule you will be inspected against traces back to that night. The foam rating, the exit width, the occupancy count taped behind your door. Your insurance adjuster will ask why a coat rack was standing in front of the rear exit. You will not have a good answer. Then there is the license itself. On September 7, 2016, Islington Council revoked Fabric's license after 2 drug-related deaths. One of the best-known clubs in the world went dark overnight. A crowdfunding campaign raised about £320,000 for legal fees. In November 2016, a judge approved a settlement with 32 new conditions, including ID scanning at the door. Fabric survived. Most rooms in that position do not. One incident on your pavement can trigger a license review. One review can trigger conditions you cannot afford to meet. Capacity cuts, earlier last orders, mandatory door staff ratios. A council meeting can close you faster than a bad year. The demand side is moving too. Gallup has tracked American drinking since 1939. In 2025, 54% of adults said they drink alcohol. That is the lowest figure in the entire series, down from 62% in 2023. Among adults under 35, it fell to 50%. Britain shows the same story in buildings. The Nighttime Industries Association counted 1,240 nightclubs in March 2020 and 835 in November 2024. That is 405 venues, a 32.7% decline. By mid-2025, the association reported 1 in 4 late-night venues gone since 2020. A quarter of British towns and cities no longer have a single nightclub. That is not a slow quarter. That is a generation changing its mind, and it doesn't care how good your sound system is. Nightclubs can fail for a lot of reasons, but 2 mistakes show up over and over again. Mistake 1, building for your best night. Pure at Caesar's Palace ranked 4th in the country in 2011, pulling $45 to $60 million. It closed in 2015, so the space could become Omnia. Light opened at Mandalay Bay in 2013 with 38,000 square feet of room. It closed permanently on October 5, 2022, and staff were told the same day. Studio 54 took in $7 million in its first year, in 1977 money. Its founders ran it for 33 months. The room you build for your best night is the room you pay for on your worst. Mistake 2. Confusing the till with profit. Steve Rubel told a reporter that only the Mafia made more money than Studio 54. The IRS read the article. The raid turned up a ledger with a column labeled Skim. In November 1979, Rubel and Ian Schrager pleaded guilty to evading over $400,000 in corporate taxes on roughly 2.5 million skimmed. They were sentenced in January 1980 to 42 months and $20,000 in fines each. The club changed hands, reopened in 1981, and closed for good in 1986. Cash through the door is not profit. It is other people's money passing through your hands on its way to somebody with an invoice. When a $100 million room and a quarter of Britain's late-night venues disappear in the same decade, that is not bad luck. That is the industry telling you something. So here's the whole thing in one sentence. A nightclub is a 10-year lease on a 3-year reputation. Which finally explains the billionaires. A casino does not need its club to be profitable forever. It needs the club to fill hotel rooms and walk 20-somethings past a gaming floor at 2 in the morning. The room is a doorway, and doorways can be replaced. You have no casino. Nobody upstairs is quietly paying for your bad quarter. The doorway is your entire business. They're buying foot traffic, you're buying the building. Time to pull it all together and answer the actual question. How much money do you make if you do this right? You take 6,000 square feet at $45 per square foot. Build out at $250 per foot is $1.5 million. Sound, lighting, and booth, $400,000. A quota market liquor license, $180,000. Opening stock and working capital, $120,000. Total in, $2.2 million. In the optimistic scenario, you open 3 nights a week and all 3 work. Thursday does $12,000, Friday $30,000, Saturday $42,000. Across 52 weeks, that is $4,368,000. Now the bill. Beverage cost of goods, $835,120. Wages, $1,245,000. Rent, $270,000. DJs and promoter commission, $811,200. Insurance, $95,000. Utilities, $88,000. Music licensing, $12,000. Card processing, $131,040. Everything else, $420,000. Total costs, $3,907,360. Net profit, $460,640. That is a 20.9% return, and it pays back your $2.2 million in 4 years and 9 months. Hold that number. It is a good year. It is close to the best year that room will ever have. In the realistic scenario, 3 ordinary things happen. Thursday never finds a crowd, so you cut it. The novelty wears off in year 2, and weekends run 20% lighter, and one overservice claim doubles your insurance to $190,000. Revenue lands at $295,200. Costs land at $3,261,448. Net loss, $266,248. Look at what actually happened there. Your revenue fell 31.4%. Your costs fell 16.5%. Rent, salaries, insurance, and licensing did not move at all. Nobody burned down, nobody sued you, nobody died. Your staff did nothing wrong. You just got slightly less fashionable, and it cost you $250,000 in 12 months. That is the whole risk, in one line. The upside needs 5 good years in a row. The downside needs 1 boring one. You have 8 years left on the lease. So, if you do decide to buy a nightclub, remember what you actually bought. Not a bar, not a brand, a 10-year lease on a 3-year reputation. There's an old joke that the way to make a small fortune in nightlife is to start with a large one. The joke is optimistic. It assumes you get to keep the small one.